Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. For 12 News at 4, I'm Tram Mai.
I'm Rachel Cole. Troy is on assignment this afternoon. Meantime, 2 people killed after a midair collision at the Marana Regional Airport. Amazingly, 2 people involved lived.
12 News journalist William Pitts is live in Marana with more on what happened. William?
Yeah, I want to show you one of the planes that did manage to make it to the ground. If I step out of the way, off in the distance here, you can see there we have one plane that is surrounded by police tape, and we think that is the plane that made it to the ground. The other one, unfortunately, was not that lucky. Marana police say this was a midair collision, but somehow the people in one of those planes managed to walk away from it. Now, check out some of this video that we got from a viewer who was nearby when it happened. He was a good mile or so away and saw that big, thick black plume of smoke over by the airport. He said he never even heard anything, didn't know the 2 planes had collided. The FAA tells us this was a Cessna and a Lance Air, basically 2 small private single-engine planes. There was a mid-air collision at the airport, but we don't know how high the planes were when they hit. One of those planes crashed and burst into flames, but both people on that plane were killed. The other, though, managed to get to the ground safely.
Yeah, it's amazing that they were able to walk away from it, and we're glad that they're okay. Yeah, it's an unfortunate event.
Now, the FAA is investigating. Marana police tell us the NTSB is on its way. Until then, the airport here is shut down while that wreckage is still there. Now, we do want to point out the FAA confirmed that this is an untowered airport. That means there's no air traffic control. There's nobody talking to these pilots as they're circling around the airport or coming by here. What they use is something called a CTAF. It's a common traffic advisory frequency. All of the pilots are supposed to be on the same frequency when they're in here. They're all supposed to adhere to the same rules, basically going around this airport, turning to the left all the time, and then basically keeping your head on a swivel, being able to see who's around you at all times and know where everybody else is, because there's no one else really helping them out here to kind of pay attention to where anybody is, guys. It's kind of up to just pilot responsibility, guys.
A lot to uncover here. William, thank you so much for that report live from Marana. And right now, we want to bring in Chris Dunn, who's a commercial pilot and also a flight instructor. You have been to this airport, Marana Airport, very small. Very small town as well. Tell us what it's like at that airport.
Very common to do a lot of flight training at Marana, especially for some of the big flight schools in the Phoenix area. You can go down there, do some pattern work, do some practice approaches, and then come back. So Will mentioned in his story that it doesn't have a control tower.
Yeah.
And that is surprising to a lot of people. There are plenty of airports. In fact, most of the airports in the U.S. do not have a control tower.
And it's up to pilot responsibility. So,
Right.
I mean, how is that even managed? Or is this just common if you're not going to have air traffic control in place?
So say if you're driving down the street and you encounter a stoplight, that's air traffic control. If you come to a 4-way intersection, that's kind of the equivalent of a non-towered field. So it's up to the pilots to figure out how to enter the structured pattern around the airport. And by the way, most of the mid-air collisions happen in the airport environment in day VFR conditions or good weather conditions, such as like we had today.
Yeah, okay, so again, still so many questions here, but what do you think the investigators will be looking for?
They'll be looking at, and Will mentioned this in his story, the common traffic advisory frequency, making sure that both pilots were on the same frequency. I've been to airports where someone mistakenly put in the wrong frequency, so they're not listening to what else is going on. Situational awareness, that's a key thing. And also, did the pilots know where each other were in the environment of the airport? They'll be looking at that, and sometimes it's just a tragic coincidence that 2 airplanes meet in the sky at the same time.
Say, just another aviation tragedy.
A lot of times, you know, we hear about this black box recording. Do these smaller aircrafts, these single-engine aircrafts, do they have that?
No, typically not. It's not a requirement, and most of the small airplanes like that don't have that. But they do have ADSB, which is automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, kind of a radar tracking type of mechanism in the transponder. So
hopefully that will lend, you know, some answers as to what possibly could have happened.
Yeah, it just has a minimal amount of data. It doesn't have all the data points that, like you would have with the black box or the flight data recorder.
Okay,
Gosh,
interesting.
Chris, we appreciate your insight again this week. Thank you.